All right. Says I'm live. You guys can hear me. Please let me know when we'll get this started. Got about 100 of you waiting. Appreciate y'all being with me on your Sunday afternoon. Love Kansas. Should be a fun slate. William Byron kind of ruined it because it feels like we're almost forced to play him in the large majority of our lineups, but we will be able to make do. I think it's a fun grid. Busted out the Larson shirt. Feel like it's a Larson week, so every single time I do that, every single time it looks like it's a Larson week, I try to put it on. All right, appreciate that, Michael. Thought we had a couple of donos in there somewhere, but for some reason they're not showing up anymore. But it says my chat revenue is there, but I do not see them. So, unfortunately, I don't know where they went. Maybe they'll show up, but I do apologize if you did, and I just for some reason it's just not there. I don't know why. At least on my chat. What's up, Michael? Good morning. Happy race day. Should be a fun slate here. Like I've been doing the previous weeks, I just want to give like a brief overview. Like after I ran projections and stuff, which guys are really just popping the most for me. So if we look in the 5-figure range, Cal Larson, William Byron, I think is going to be the starting point for the majority of people this weekend if I am playing cash games. That's the pairing I like up front. I know there's so many good plays here. Truex, Tyler Reddick, Denny Hamlin. You can make a case for any of them. I think they're all tournament plays. But for cash games, Cal Larson looks to be your main lap leader. He's the favorite to win this race by a decent margin. He's been the fastest car at intermediates this year. Fast car in practice. Starts near the front. I don't see a reason why he won't get up to the front quite early. Should be able to pass Christopher Bell and lead a large chunk of laps. And that's going to make up for the lack of place differential that he does not offer us. So Cal Larson, William Byron starting all the way back in 36. That's like your starting point for cash games today. The rest would be tournament options, although I'm not the biggest fan of Christopher Bell. After that, you're kind of mainly just looking at the place differential plays. I think Bubba Wallace looks excellent. Love the 2311 cars. Love Toyota. Like he has a top 10 car in practice. Just didn't qualify like it. And then Ryan Blaney, although he was slower in qualifying in practice, based off of what we've seen at similar tracks, he should be a top 15, maybe a fringe top 10 contender today. So $8,600 in 26. A guy that I would definitely be looking to get to. Brett Keselowski at that price point, just way too cheap. Top 15 across the board in practice, and he usually finds his way to 15th. Do I think Ford is going to have a ton of speed today? No. But do you need a ton of speed starting in 30th? For a guy like Brett Keselowski at $7,700? No. It's going to be 15th place. I will take it, but there's always upside for more. Dale Suarez is another guy that I think can just get plenty of place differential, and for where he's starting and for where he typically finishes at these track types, it's another guy that will populate into lineups quite often. The cheaper plays, the ones that pop for me, I like Ricky Stenhouse starting in 21st. And the cheap plays all just kind of suck this week. Like, yeah, some of them have place differential, but they're probably going to finish near the back anyway. But Ricky Stenhouse Sr. and Carson Hocevar are the guys I like a lot that actually have legit top 20 potential. They both pretty much practice around 15th to 20th place, and I feel like they can just hang around 20th, and I will take that. It's better than a P31 from some of these other guys. Those are the ones that are popping for me. And if you want to punt, I mean, Justin Haley, Todd Gillen, Corey LaJoie, Austin Hill are fine, but it's just a quick rundown of what the projection like for me. So I'll get into the questions. What's up, Sean? You're the man. Says, what is the optimal FanDuel and DraftKings lineup? The optimal on DraftKings for me, they're all like extremely close. It's Larson, Byron, Blaney, Keselowski. That's like the staple four for me. And I feel like in cash games, that will probably be the route most people will go, because I don't really think you need to force in a third 10K guy. Because if you're doing that, you're looking at 3 punts, which I just don't really feel comfortable with that, especially when a track where we don't have 400, 500 laps. So while there is dominator points out there, I just feel like 2 guys up top is probably the best route to go. And then it's just really those cheap lineup fillers I talked about with either Stenhouse, Hill, Hocevar, or LaJoie. Those are the ones that are populating for me. And then over on FanDuel, so I'm actually struggling with the FanDuel builds because there's a couple ways I want to go. I don't know if I want to play Larson in my single entry, or if I'm going to build multiple lineups, or if I want to fade him to save a little bit of money. So my optimal FanDuel is Reddick, Byron, Blaney, Keselowski, Suarez, but the highest lineup with Larson is Larson, Byron, Wallace, Keselowski, Stenhouse. I like either, so the internal debate currently. Jake says, top 5 drivers to win today and lead lap. So my projected top 5 for today is Larson, Hamlin, Reddick. Should be no surprise there. That should be everyone's top 3 projected. Whether that's what happens or not, that's just what it should be projected, in my opinion. And then Christopher Bell and Martin Truex Jr. would round out my top 5. And potential top doms for me, Kyle Larson just leads the way by a large chunk. Then Denny Hamlin, Tyler Reddick, Martin Truex Jr., and Christopher Bell being the top 5 for potential dominators today. What's up, Tito? This is good morning, buddy. What do you call an illegally parked frog? A toad. I'm gonna pretend I never read that because it was so bad. Happy Sunday and let's go Truex. Yeah, I can get down for some Truex. He did well for us last weekend. Came in lower ownership and ended up paying off. So hopefully, I'm not gonna have like a ton of Truex today, but he's certainly someone I don't mind getting to in tournaments. What's up, Michael? Says, let's just get to my most important question. Groups. Who's in it and how many? It's just the Dom group today. I would set it to pretty much at least, you could make it at least 1, but probably at least 2. But just the dominators. Kyle Larson, Denny Hamlin, Tyler Reddick, Christopher Bell. If you want to throw him in there, that's fine. Ross Chastain, Ty Gibbs. Pretty much everybody that's starting somewhat close to the front that offers dominator potential. And I know William Byron starts in the very back, but honestly, by the time stage 2 rolls around, it'd be like he probably started 10th and he'll be running 6th or something like that. So if you want to throw him in, you can do that. And then I'd set it to at least 2. He says, let's go Larson. Yeah, I'm on the Larson train today. If it's a 1.5, you're pretty much playing Larson. This is just how it goes. Hopefully it doesn't end up like Texas, where he was the best car by far, but ends up losing a wheel. And told me you could project him losing a wheel. Well, I'd like to see your crystal ball. What's up, Charles? Happy race day. Stenhouse Jr. or Ryan Preece? I will take Ricky Stenhouse there. They're projected pretty close to each other. It's like within 1 point, but I do have Ricky a little bit higher. Michael says Larson for the win. I would not be surprised. Now, did I bet him to win? No. And if you guys are curious, because everyone always asks me, what are the bets I have this weekend? Kind of hate them all. I don't have any outright winners after qualifying, and just the odds don't look good for anything. Besides Tyler Reddick, but I already have 2311 to win the race at plus 500, which I feel pretty good about that, so I didn't really feel the need to bet Tyler Reddick after that. And the other ones I'm not a big fan of, to be honest. It's Ross Chastain, Ryan Blaney to win at plus 2200, like 0.2 units on that. And I put 0.4 units on them both to finish top 5 at plus 300. So good numbers I got on Ross, but Ryan Blaney, I don't feel too confident in that. So not really a big betting week for me. Mike says, Byron, on what percent of lines? He was showing optimal for me around 50-60% of the time. I think he's fine around that. And I think it would be much higher, but the problem is there's just so many good plays in that 10K range where it's not a lock that he's optimal. So, for example, if we look at the heat map, William Byron finishes 5th today. Fantastic. If you're playing cash games, that more than enough gets the job done. So if William Byron finishes 5th, we are looking at 70 points, and that's not factoring in any amount of fast laps he could get, which if he finishes 5th today, I imagine he probably got some fast laps. So let's just say, for example, he could get to 80, 75 points. He finished in the top 5. There's obviously room for more. Thing is, though, let's just say a guy like Denny Hamlin at a similar price point, not as many people will get to, ends up finishing 2nd, but leads 80 laps in this race. That's where he can outdo a guy like William Byron. So he's not a lock, but obviously he's a fantastic play. So you're going to want him in a large chunk of lineups. Now, on FanDuel, on the other hand, I mean, you don't really get the dominator points over there, so it's just hard not to play him in almost everything. Like, the only way William Byron probably doesn't work out on FanDuel is if he wrecks, which every time I say that, I feel like the guy wrecked. So I apologize in advance, but it's not something we can know is going to happen. Anybody to the rear? I believe it's just William Byron and Chase Briscoe, and William Byron's already in the rear. Let's win some money, says Stanley. I would have to agree. Hopefully that happens. I have 10 lineups, Byron in 6. I think that's fine. As long as you're mixing and matching those guys in the 10K plus range. Mike says he thinks he's all in on Byron. And that's another strategy. If you want to do that, and he's just, as he smashes today, yes, he'll be chalk, but if you're going to be so much over the field, you pretty much have to go all in if you want to double your exposure compared to the field. So I understand the premise of doing that. Michael says to try to fade Byron a little, but he just seems to fit so easy in my lineups. I was saying the same thing about Keselowski. I said every time I scroll down, my thumb just clicks on Keselowski without my consent. But he's just so easy to fit in every build, whether it be DraftKings or FanDuel. So I do understand it. Stanley says I like the Hamlin, Larson, Byron, Haley lineups. It's certainly a way to go. Like I'm not saying it's not going to happen. I just feel like probably the most likely scenario is 2 of those 10K guys are on the optimal. Then we'll probably see some 8 or 9K guy pop in as the 3rd. But if Hamlin and Larson finish 1-2, both let's say they lead half the race, and then Byron finishes third or fourth with some fast laps. As long as a couple of those cheap guys do well, it's certainly a possibility where that could happen. So that's why we're going to set it to at least 2 of these types of drivers in our lineups today, where you can get 3 to filter in sometimes. What's up, Rick? Happy race day, everyone. Chico with the jokes. Yeah, it was awful. Very, very awful. Hopefully I answered that one for you already. Dan? Good morning, Clint. Happy race day to you as well. Don says, GBP lineup, Larson, Blaney, Byron, Keselowski, Hocevar, and LaJoy. I mean, it's a good lineup overall, but it's definitely not tournament-ish. If you're looking for lower ownership, it's close to really an optimal lineup. So it's going to be very, very chalky. Now, it looks good, though. What's up, Bonnie? Says, happy race day. Byron a lock today? I don't think it's right to call anybody in NASCAR DFS a lock because, as we all know, anybody can just lose a wheel at any time, get a flat tire, get a penalty. Something stupid happens. Something like Derek Kraus just moves up the track and ends up killing one of our guys. It's all in the possibilities. So, no, he is not a lock, but will he be my highest owned driver today? Yes. Absolutely. Stanley says it's more of a cash lineup. I agree. Like, if you wanted to play that in cash today, yeah, by all means, go for it. Roshan says Bell, Keselowski, Blaney, Stenhouse, Suarez, and Wallace. Bell's going to have to do a lot of heavy lifting in that lineup because he's the only guy up front, and then it's just full-on place differential. And honestly, I'm not the biggest fan of Bell today. I'm not saying he's not going to lead laps. I projected him for about 25 laps led, somewhere around there, a couple decimals, which I think is reasonable. Larson, I don't think Larson is going to get it on lap 1 or 2, but I do think it's likely Larson will get to him. Like Bell, based off of practice, Bell did not have the best car. I know practice is never just an exact science, but we're looking at some of these numbers. Bell 11th to 1 lap, 7th to 5, and 11th to 10, compared to like Kyle Larson, who starts in a row right behind him, 4th in the 5 laps, 2nd to 10, 1st in the 15, and Larson's just based off of similar tracks, based off what we've seen this year, he is by far the more dominant car. So I think that ends up prevailing. And then once we get Christopher Bell in dirty air, I just feel like some of these other guys will be faster than him and should be able to pass him. And then we probably don't see Bell up front again after that. So like Kyle Busch last week was fine. He wasn't optimal, but he was fine. Like, you know, he had that clean air to start, had some laps, and kind of stuck around all day, but wasn't the absolute nuts. I'm not huge on Christopher Bell. Darren says DK Cash, Hamlin and a cheapie, or Brad and Blaney. Probably Brad and Blaney, and then assuming I already have like Larson, Byron, the route I would go. I think Brad and Blaney are really nice lineup fillers at their price points. Good morning, Bull. What's up, Jill? Says best tournament FanDuel. Well, I really can't give out a specific lineup. But if you are playing FanDuel and trying to get off some of the chalk, first off, don't play Kyle Larson. That's what your goal is, just to try to get off chalk. Play a Hamlin or Tyler Reddick. And then, I mean, it's just hard to get too different on FanDuel because you only have 5 drivers, and it's just really hard not to get to these exact guys that I like. Brett Keselowski, Bubba Wallace, Ryan Blaney, these guys kind of populate almost into every single lineup for me. So it's just tough. But like, I mean, this could be a decent tournament lineup. Like, it's not off the chalk by any means, but there's a couple pivots, like a Denny Hamlin, Byron, Wallace, Keselowski, Hocevar. One way to get a little bit different. But be a lot of good tournament FanDuel lineups. I wouldn't say there's the best one. Pugsley says, hello everyone from a rainy New York. Hopefully that rain stays away from Kansas. I said in my video it was supposed to be nice, and then I saw Bob post a radar pic of rain, so I guess I lied. Google lied to me though. Pugsley says I went Larson, Byron, Blaney, Keselowski, Barry, and Gillen. Is that too much PD with only having Larson in the top 15? No, I do think a lot of people end up going that route today because if you're playing Larson, you're assuming he is the one up front leading laps because you're not playing Larson to hang around second all day and someone else is leading laps. So it's not going to be enough for Kyle Larson. If you're playing Larson, he's just soaking it all up in the top 10 because other than him, I don't really know who else is going to dominate. I mean, yeah, I'm sure Bell can lead some laps. Chastain will be okay, but Are these going to be the most dominant cars based off of practice, based off of what we've seen this year? Probably not. I don't think it'll be Gregson. Busch is kind of like Ross, where he'll be decent. Do I think he's going to dominate? No. Ty Gibbs, decent. Cindric, McDowell aren't going to do it. Elliott's probably not going to do it. Briscoe's going to the rear anyway. So it's really just Larson up there. And then I'm fine with playing those guys starting mid-pack and back because this is a track where we should be able to pass. I think those builds are perfectly fine today. Grade A says, we way over today. Yeah, that's my bad. I apologize. Albert says, all right, everybody, to celebrate Cinco de Mayo, we should all ask Chris our questions in Spanish. I took 4 years. 4 or 5 years of Spanish, so I wouldn't do too bad, I don't think. I do know some Espanol. Dwayne says, GBP, Byron, Larson, Hamlin, Heim, Smith, and Haley. Have a good day. Yeah, see, like, that's the problem with these 3 10K builds because you're stuck with just junk, and more junk. And I just don't think they're going to be able to do enough to pay off. So for me, I just feel like that would look so much better if I went like Byron, Larson, then instead of Hamlin, just throwing like either a Bubba Wallace, you save like almost $2,000. Just that helps you get away from these 3 scrub builds, which I don't really think is the best route to go for Kansas. Hopefully I already answered that for you, Nick, for the Dom group today. It's kind of the guys you'd expect. And then I'd set it to at least 2. Robert says, what's up? Thanks, Chris, for helping me fix my dumb optimizer. That was you emailing me earlier. I think you said it was your birthday, so happy birthday to Robert. Gotta give you a shout out for that. Wasn't able to respond yet. I was going to. But I'm glad you got it fixed. No problem at all. Steve says, how much Bubba are you getting to? I'm planning on having a good amount of Bubba today. He's looking like one of my more favorite plays. Like on FanDuel, I just ran 20 crunches without any settings. Obviously, I wouldn't do this much. But for 20 lineups, he popped in 60% of the time, which I could probably see myself having at least 40% over on FanDuel today. He just fits in really nicely, and I love the 2311 cars today. So I do like him quite a bit. What's up, Zan? Says Gibbs gets his first win today? Probably not. I don't think Ty Gibbs is going to win this week. I think he runs well, though. Should be a decent day. Based off of practice, 6 in the 10 lap, 6 in the 15, 3rd in the 20, which is only behind William Byron and Denny Hamlin. So it's pretty good company to be in. I think will be a 5th to 10th place car today, but for DFS purposes, that's not anything amazing. Let's eat Phyllis's paper. I agree. Do it. Friends, Bull says, can you explain the conversation we were having in Discord? I'm still confused. I don't know. I was just mainly kind of messing with you, Bull, but I was just basically saying you don't have to play Byron today. Like, is he the best play in the slate? No. First or second best play. Either him or Kyle Larson. I would say the top 2 for sure. But you don't, like, you're not completely locked into William Byron because guys like Tyler Reddick, Martin Truex, and Danny Hamlin also can outscore if they get up front. But the chances of them getting up front, I would say, are less likely than like William Byron sneaking into the top 10. If that makes sense. I think it's likely one of those guys will at some point. But the chances are of nailing it's a little bit lower. But it will pay off in tournaments because, like I said, if Danny Hamlin comes out, leads 100 laps, wins the race, or finishes second, he's going to way outscore William Byron if he finishes 5th. But obviously, the chances of it happening are lower, which is why he's going to be lower owned, but the payoff can be better. Hopefully that makes sense. But no, I was not saying that I'll play William Byron. It's me. It's Ernest T. Hey, Chris, besides Larson, is there anybody else in the top 10 that is worth paying up for as a Dom? Thank you. For me, I don't really have too much interest. Like, I will have Busch, Gibbs, Chastain sprinkled in a little bit, but if I'm playing like 1 to 3 lineups, I don't see myself playing anybody else inside the top 10 besides Larson. For me, because then we are sacrificing getting to these other guys that are starting in the teens or William Byron in the 30s, which doesn't feel that good to me. And we have seen so many times this year. I mean, there's just so many lap leaders. Obviously, Las Vegas, Kyle Larson, I feel like led almost every single lap, and he doesn't have the pit issue. Kyle Larson probably almost leads every lap at Texas again. But we've seen multiple lap leaders. So even if a guy gets up front, it's not the end of the day because there's been a lot of comers and goers this season. Stanley's favorite cheap plays are Haley, Hill, and LaJoy. I don't mind them for the dumpster drivers. Stenhouse and Hocevar are the ones I like for finishing position upside. A little bit more expensive, but I mean, for punts, I'm all right with that. Better finish, Reddick or Bell? I have Reddick just a little bit higher than Bell today. A little bit more work to work through in traffic starting in the teens, but I think by the end of the day, Reddick will have the better car and that should prevail. 6,500 left, says Roshan. For me, that would be Hocevar is my favorite. I need 65. Brett says, for DraftKings GPP, do you like Larson and Blaney or Byron and Chastain? Thanks again for all you do here. No problem at all, Brett. I'd have to go the Larson and Blaney route. I mean, not that either is super low owned. Chastain, I guess, will be, but I think it's more likely Larson dominates, and at that point, I'll just take whatever I get with Blaney. What's up, Mundo? Says, let's get it. What 2 race teams would you stack between Hendricks, JGR, or the 23 team? I mean, honestly, that's the majority of my builds right there. Just going to mix and match all 3 of those guys. I mean, Hendrick and JGR is always going to be the top dogs pretty much all season long. So I have the choice. I'll go with them. But those are definitely the 3 teams you pretty much want to build around today for like potential race winners. What's up, Johnny T? So CP, my man, what's the Court and FanDuel cash? I can play Byron, Hamlin, Reddick, Keselowski, and Haley, or Byron, Truex, Reddick, Bubba, and Haley. I know you don't like playing scrubs on FanDuel, but Haley makes it work. For me, I don't feel comfortable playing Haley in cash today on FanDuel. DraftKings, like, worst comes to worst, sure. But on FanDuel, I just don't really see it being the best route to go. Now, last week, I think Zane Smith would have ended up working out, but unfortunately, Christopher Bell killed me. He got wrecked out at the end. So that sucked. But I think Zane Smith would have made it work, especially for where he finished. But, I mean, on FanDuel, I like William Byron. I like Blaney. I like Keselowski. It's probably like your starting points in cash games. You could interchange Blaney or Bubba Wallace. If I had the money, I prefer Bubba over Blaney, but sometimes I'm not really finding myself to have the money. So I think that's like your core 3 for FanDuel cash today. And then if you can fit in any combination of Larson, Hamlin, Reddick, one of those guys, I'm fine with. But I am not the biggest fan of Haley today in cash games or FanDuel. Thoughts and Gibbs and GPP? Not huge on Ty Gibbs today, just mainly because I don't think he's going to dominate the race. Like, he'd have to be better than Kyle Larson at the beginning of the race, which is unlikely. My Ty Gibbs projection today is 39.29 points. That's a 9.35 projected finish. I gave him some dominator points. I believe 6.99, I believe. So decent day. Have him optimal around 10 to 12% of the time, but most likely just not going to get enough points at his price point, I don't think. Don says, who do you have finishing better head-to-head? Hamlin versus Larson, Wallace versus Elliott, Reddick versus Bell and Truex versus Willie B. Hamlin versus Larson, I have Larson. Wallace versus Elliott, I have Elliott. They're all right next to each other, so whatever book this is did a very good job on their head-to-head props. Reddick versus Bell, I have Reddick, and once again, right next to each other. And then Truex versus Willie B, once again, right next to each other, and I have Truex. So not like I have a strong edge on any of them. Roshan says, Wallace, Suarez, Brett Keselowski, Byron, Blaney, 6,500 left. Already answered that one. How much PD is too much PD? I think PD is fine today. Kansas, we should be able to have some movers. Now, a lot of my lineups would have Kyle Larson starting in the top 10, but other than that, I think PD is fine. Assuming he is just holding it down up front. Clinton says, how is Hamlin, Byron? And you said Martian, but I'm going to assume it's Martin. Martin. Well, Hamlin's like your pivot off of Larson. But Byron, I mean, they're all fantastic plays. If I had to rank them, I would have it I'd have it Byron, Hamlin, Martin Truex Jr., but I'll definitely have a good chunk of them. What's up, Pedro? Nice to see you. I feel like I haven't seen you a little bit. But glad you can make it in. Joseph says, Gibbs or Chastain? I would take Ty Gibbs. I believe I have him projected a little bit better. It's very close. Yeah, I got Ty Gibbs by a few points there. I think people are sleeping on Chase. I mean, he'll be okay today, but I don't think he's going to do enough at his price point to pay off. Like, he finished the 7th. Great real life day, but for DFS purposes, we need him up front, $10,000. And based off of practice, it does not look like he's got a top-end car. 8th in the 1 lap, 13th in the 5, 9th in the 10. Like I said, decent real life day, but for DFS, I don't really see the upside. Bubba Wallace was faster in practice, and he starts like 15 spots further back, so it just makes more sense to go there. Clinton says Hamlin, Martin, Truex, Byron, Suarez, Hyman, Haley. How's that sound? So I am really struggling with these 310K driver builds. They just look a little gross down low, but with Hyman, Haley, I guess it's only a double punt instead of a triple punt. So it's not too bad. So if it's a tournament, sure, large field, I don't mind it, but it's not my favorite route to go today. I want to play Bubba, but that price tag, woof. I agree it is a big price tag, but I do think he runs well today. I mean, this is one of those tracks where if he finishes top 5 or intends to win, I'm just not surprised about it. So if you're ever going to pay $9,500 for Bubba, I would say Kansas is probably that track. Stanley says Hemrick Stinks got lucky last week. Oh, he got big lucky. Fortunately, barely anybody played him, so it wasn't like didn't kill you. But yeah, Hemrick did not deserve the finish that he got. A couple of guys got lucky. Am I feeling good about Gregson? Not enough to play him in DFS. He's just starting way too high for me. Like, even if he finishes 5th, I don't think it's going to be enough. Like, their 5th place for Gregson is 37 points. I feel like we can get 37 points from other guys. Gibbs or Bush, better finish. I think I have, yeah, Ty Gibbs, 0.2 spots higher. 0.19 actually. But I think I got Bush, though. It's like very, very close. Clinton says, hit the like button, guys. I'd appreciate it. It goes a long way. Tyler says, no Gregson versus Busher, highest finish. I have Gregson higher than Busher today. By a couple spots. Better finish, Elliott or Wallace? I think it was what? Wasn't it Bubba? Or was it Elliott? No, it was Elliott by just by 1 spot. Is Austin Hill a decent lineup filler? I would say yes, just because of the starting position. I don't have Austin Hill projected to do anything amazing today. I have him right around 29th place with some decimal points mixed in. But even then, we're looking at like 19 to 20 points for that, which all the cheap plays look rough. So that's actually good enough to, I think, at least make some lineups. Mike says, have you ever considered stacking inside 135 or outside 246 and hoping they get to the front for a long time? Or even doing that somewhere towards the back? No, not at all. Especially for this race, it wouldn't make any sense. Because, I mean, if the guy starts 3rd, just runs 3rd all day, and it's not going to be enough. He's not going to be leading laps, and it just doesn't make sense. There's going to be too many guys to pass. They're going to have to pit at some point anyway. I think it's going to get shuffled around. I just don't think it makes any sense to ever do that. Iron says, how was Priest in practice? Looking at him for possible place differential. He's bad. He's very bad in practice, which is my concern. Like, he still pops for me a little bit because of the starting position, and he can limp his way to like a 26. But 37th in the 1 lap, 35th in the 5, 32nd in the 10, and 23rd in the 15. I think I saw a tweet yesterday someone sent to me in Discord where some SHR guys are doing like some tire study groups or something like that, and all the other SHR cars were much faster in qualifying. And then Ryan Priest quote tweeted saying he wasn't aware of these study groups. So maybe that's why he's been so slow. I don't know. But yeah, he was very slow in practice. And that's why I think getting the guys like Stenhouse and Hosevar, while they don't have the PD upside, they just look much faster overall. Hello, Miss Jewel. It's happy race day. Happy race day to you as well. Hopefully you have a fantastic day. Just got back from the gyms. Hopefully all went well. Thank you for stopping by. Jay Peterman says, most likely to finish outside the top 10, Gibbs, Chastain, Elliott, or Bush. Oh, probably Bush. Just because of he seems to have more issues than the other guys. Probably Bush between that group. Michael says, just got here, what we like for DFS tournaments. Thank you. Yeah, for tournaments, I mean, Larson, Byron are obvious plays, but they're going to be chalky. So Hamlin, Reddick, Truex, those guys look really good in tournaments. Bubba Wallace, I like a lot. Also, Stenhouse, Carson Hosevar for cheaper plays. Tournament starting points. Funny coach. Jeff says, better play Larson or Byron on DraftKings. Byron is by far safer, but I do have Larson protected a little bit higher because he has more dominator upside. I mean, I guess Larson. Who are my top 2 lower owned DOMs? I would say Reddick and Hamlin for me. Yeah, removing Hunter just makes it a more of a utopia in there. Hey, Papa Giorgio says, what random percentage are you saying in this optimizer? In the optimizer? I think this week anywhere from 20-30%. If it's not super speedway, usually just 20-30% is the best route to go. On FanDuel, I tend to use a little bit less, like 10 to 15%. Just because the project on FanDuel, because the downer points are not added in as much. All these guys have such a tight projection. Like from Larson down to Bowman, it's a 40-point difference on DraftKings for my projections, not salary-wise, just looking at them. But on FanDuel, Larson is only 15 points away from Bowman, so it's just a stark difference in projection based off of the scoring formats they use over there. How do I feel about Busch this week? Not really on him too much. Just don't really see him dominating and just giving me a lot of place differential upside. Practice look good. I usually like him intermediates. The price is fine. Like he slides in. Like 10 to 50% of lineups if you're MMing looks fine to me, but other than that, he's not like a staple. What else, Brad? Bull says 8,600 final spot on DraftKings. I'll take Blaney there, unless you already have him. Rick says, just letting everybody know that we do have some light rain in Kansas. Well, I feel bad because I lied to everyone now. Let me see what old Google is saying. Yep, there is rain now there in the forecast. And, well, I promised when I looked yesterday it was like a 0 to 20%. And now it is showing us pretty much 50% of rain until 4 some p.m., maybe close to 5. So maybe we get a later start today. That wasn't in the plans, which if it does rain, I guess we'd probably get a competition caution, which I would say definitely hurts Christopher Bell. Just more of a chance to stack back up and whether people want to pin or not. So I guess we have to watch out for the rain today, which I was not expecting. Steven says, excluding Kraus and Burton, who do you prefer in the 5K range? What's your take on Herbst, Hemrick, Smith, Hill, Heim? Herbst just looks too slow. I don't really... If Herbst gets there, it's probably because there was Rex or he just got there in freaky strategy like Hemrick last week, and there is absolutely no way projecting that. So I'm going to pass on Herbst. Hemrick I'll pass on. Just don't really trust collie cars too much. Zane Smith I don't like either. Hill and Heim do project a little decent for me. I like Hill for the starting point. And then Corey Heim, it doesn't feel great starting in 20th. Not projected too far off Austin. So those would be the 2 I'd get to. Yeah, let's go 100 Motorsports. Definitely a fan of them today. That's for sure. Coach says C-Pen speaks better Spanish than Swan. Yeah, we'll go head to head. See how it goes. Ricky says, am I missing something with Blaney? He didn't look great. His price is great, though. I mean, again, practice is not the end all be all. If you were fast in practice, it's obviously a good thing. But some of these guys that are slower, they can figure out during the race. Ryan Blaney's one of those guys where I just don't think he's going to be stuck in 25th all day. If he is, well, that's not good. But based off of everything we have seen, if we're looking at Kansas and intermediates this year, well, the 2 1.5 mile tracks we've been at, Ryan Blaney average running position of 10.4, average finish of 14.2, top 20s, 4 top 15s. I just don't really think it's going to be such an outlier race where Ryan Blaney is that horrible. 10 race sample size of next gen intermediate since 2023. Blaney running position of 10th, average finish of 14th, and 7 top 20s, 6 top 15th. Like he probably finds his way to 10th to 15th, which at his price point, perfectly fine for most formats. I'm not calling for a ceiling day of like P5 for Ryan Blaney, but if he can get it into the top 15, like that could be enough to hold it over as long as you nail some DOMs. But I do understand what you mean. Like his practice was not great. Obviously didn't qualify that well, but he should be better than where he qualified. What's up, Mom? Hi, buddy. Hi, NASCAR fam. Good luck, everyone. Vroom, vroom. Let's get Logano. Jody and Harold say hi. Fresh shave looks good. Thank you. And tell Jody and Harold I said hi as well. And hi to you too. and hi to Duke. But just tell everyone I said hi. Travis says, what's good, y'all? What cheaper drivers are we targeting? What's up, Travis? Cheaper drivers I like: Carson Hocevar, Ricky Stenhouse. Obviously, there's a couple fine lineup fillers like Austin Hill back there, Justin Haley. Okay, Corey LaJoy. But Hocevar and Stenhouse, I think, have the best finish upside. What's up, Danny? Says Byron, Hamlin, Larson, and Ricky Stenhouse, Haley. Not a big fan of that. I just don't really trust Hemrick too much. Like, that's the problem with these 3 10K guys, or even just 2 11K guys, and then Byron. I don't think there's enough laps to where it makes it viable today. I like 2 of them. I just don't really think 3 is the best route to go. Because, I mean, if one of those guys does not dominate, let's just say Denny doesn't dominate the race. I mean, you're just wasting, and by all means, I think he can, but in this specific build, you have Larson dominating, you have Byron coming through the field. There just might not be enough points out there for Denny Hamlin to work as well, in addition to that. So you could save $2,000. Play Bubba Wallace, who could sneak into the top 10. Much cheaper price point. I just feel like those builds seem a little bit better on the eyes. They also project a little bit better for me. I don't really trust the punts too much this weekend. Now, if we had 500 laps, sure, Denny leads 200, Larson leads 200. Maybe Byron gets 50. That's when that works out, but I don't really see that being the case this weekend. Obviously, there's not enough laps for that to happen anyway. Albert says, got Larson, Keselowski, Wallace, Suarez, Hocevar, and Stenhouse in a single entry GBP. I'm going to take my chances on fading Byron. It's definitely bold, but it can pay off. Like, if something happens to Byron, he just ends up sucking, finishes 17th. Cash games, that's enough, but tournaments, that won't be enough. Charles says, for tournaments, are you playing any of the 5K drivers on DraftKings? Keep up the great content. Appreciate that, Charles. Yeah, I think in tournaments, you're going to have to get to some of these guys. Like, if you're trying to get multiple DOMs up top, I mean, you're filtering in Austin Hill, you're filtering in Justin Haley, Corey Heim, these kind of guys, LaJoy, pop up a little bit. It's not really anybody you're going out of your way to play, but sometimes they just got to find their way in there, and you hope for the best. Pugsley says, odds on Hunter Nemechek finishes top 20 seems to be the best choice if you build a Larson, Byron, Bubba, Keselowski lineup. What do I have? Hunter Nemechek. I got John Hunter at 27th place today, which projection-wise, that stacks up around 19 points, which is right on par with Austin Hill, LaJoy, these kind of guys. So, I mean, like, he's just one of those lineup fillers where I don't really have a strong stance. If someone says they have a strong stance, I wouldn't really believe them, but they might. I don't think I would. I think I'd believe it though. Cash scrub on DraftKings. I mean, the safest one's probably Austin Hill or LaJoy, but I would really try to find a way to be like in that Hocevar Stenhouse range personally. Favorite cash plays? I think everyone's favorite cash plays today should probably be William Byron, Kyle Larson, Brett Keselowski. Probably be the 3 ISO drivers today, and that'd be a starting point for cash. Julio says, Kyle Busch or Bubba for a one and done. I don't really know how the one and done works. It's like some different type of fantasy contest, but I do like Bubba today if place differential factored in whatsoever. What do you think about Bubba in top 3 outright at plus 550? I feel like I'm not going to like that. I have Bubba Wallace fair for top 3 at 736. I am off that number a bit. On FanDuel, Hamlin or Truex, I'll take Hamlin, as long as the price doesn't matter. Mrs. says, Mrs. McBrownie, I like the name. Just want to say hello from Cleveland, Ohio to all and to Chris. Well, that's awesome. I'm also from nearly Cleveland, as you can tell from the brown stuff in the background. So, Ohio gang, rise up. But I'm definitely a fan of anybody from Cleveland. Thank you for stopping by. Joseph says, Gregson for first win today. Am I crazy? Trending up? I think you're crazy. I don't think he's going to win the race. But can you run well? Sure. But winning the race is a lot different from running well. I mean, I'm just trying to visualize in my head him straight up passing Kyle Larson and Denny Hamlin for the win today, and it just keep getting an error message in my head. Holy hairdo says that. It's something. Gibbs or Bowman better finish? I'll take Gibbs right there. Money Quinn says this disgusting shirt again. I gotta do it. It's a 1.5. We gotta wear the Larson. We gotta do it. Ryan Cobb says we're gonna do a single entry DraftKings of Byron, Larson, and Brad Keselowski. Should I play some Bubba, Nemechek, and Haley, or Bowman, Suarez, and Hemrick? We got Byron, Larson, Keselowski. I would go the Wallace, Nemechek, Haley route. I just don't really like Hemrick today too much. I'd go with that one. Richard says Kyle Larson and Denny Hamlin to finish best. Probably will happen today. I mean, if in a perfect world where there's no incidents, it's Larson versus Hamlin at the end, most likely. Bull says, how much of a death sentence is it to go Larson and Reddick? No Hamlin or Byron? I mean, like I said, I mean, if you get any of those guys in the teens to get up front lead laps and contend for the win at the end, nothing happens to them where they fade back. I mean, they can outscore Byron. So that's perfectly fine. I think Reddick and Hamlin are very similar plays. So, not a death sentence, but your main sweat's going to be William Byron, because if William Byron just goes straight through the field and is contending for the win at all and getting any dominant points, whether it be fast laps or anything, I mean, it's going to be a major sweat. So you absolutely have to pretty much have Reddick up front. But it's a possibility. What's up, B-Mac? This is Guard Your Snack Money. Nice to see you. Dimitri says, how many dominators and who? I would say at least 2 today. And it's the guys you'd expect. That's Larson, Hamlin, Reddick, Bell, Truex, Byron. Second tier guys would be like Gibbs, Busch, Chastain, Elliott, potential. But pretty much all the guys you'd expect. Gregson a sleeper today. DFS in real life. He's just starting way too far up for me to be a sleeper. I have him around 10 place, 10 to 15 place at the end of the day, which is fine. But for DFS, that's not going to get it done. Like based off of practice, 10th, 12th, 8th. He's an 8th to 12th place card. Good real life day. DFS not going to cut it. Does Kansas have lights? Pretty sure they do. Yeah, they just ran the lights last night at trucks. So yeah. I'm not very good with which tracks have lights or not, but can't confirm they do. As he said, yeah, they raced last night. Yeah, truck just his pit crew was incredible. They got up front every single time they went down pit road, but he did not have the truck of Corey Heim, unfortunately. And Zane Smith was pretty good too. Thoughts on Blaney? I feel like he'll be a little bit better than what we saw in practice and qualifying. It's mainly just a price play for me, but perfectly fine for place differential. Jacinta or Jacenta? I'm going to go with Jacinta. Because I listen to you almost every week. Thank you very much. I'm on Fantasy League, and I got to beat the boys. Well, let's try to help that. Because what 6 drivers would you have in your lineup? It depends. Like, are we talking DraftKings? Are we talking FanDuel? Are we talking like the NASCAR thing? Because it's a lot different there. I mean, my top 6 finishers, if you're talking like NASCAR, which it sounds like you are, like the Fantasy League on their website, would be Larson, Hamlin, Reddick, Bell, Truex, Byron. Like that's what I have. But if it's for like DFS, let me know. But it's a little bit different over there. So sorry, I might not be too much of a help. But if it's one of those, if it's one of those kind of leagues, Bob Wallace would definitely be a good track for him to use him. Brad Keselowski or Bowman, which one you like more? I like Brad K. I think at the end of the day, they probably have somewhat similar finishing position upside. Bowman probably a little bit better, but when Keselowski starts 12 spots further back in 30, so I'll just take Brad. Bush's Kush says, I don't see Byron in the optimal. I mean, he's a mine projected. They're medium projections, but he's not like a 100% lock to make optimal today. There's definitely many scenarios where you could get a couple of different guys getting in. Travis Miller says Larson for the win. Oh, I just saw a couple of these donuts down here. I apologize. For some reason, I'm not asking you to donate more when I say this. For some reason, when it's $1.99, it just does not pop up for some reason. I don't know why, but let me read these right now. It says Bubba or Blenny on DraftKings for a tournament. I would take Bubba there. Should be a little bit lower owned, and I like his overall upside a little bit better. And what's the optimal lineup on DraftKings today, says Isaiah. For me, my highest is right now Larson, Byron, Blaney, Keselowski, Hocevar, and Austin Hill. While my highest projected own lineup today is Larson, Byron, Blaney, Keselowski, Hocevar, and Corey LaJoie. Maybe I'm a little bit too high in the Hocevar ownership projection, but Seems easy to get to today. That answers your question. I do appreciate the donut. Priest or Nemechek? You said Nemo. Great movie. I have Ryan Priest just a little bit higher than Nemechek today. Chris Jenkins says, do we read anything into Ford's fast in qualifying? I don't really think so. I mean, it's cool to have some short run speed for a few laps, but then long run speed's going to outdo it. I just don't think the Fords are going to have the juice today to be able to outcompete Hendrick, outcompete the Yodas. So, I mean, I like Keselowski, I like Blaney, just because of the starting positions, but I'm definitely not thinking there's going to be a Ford that dominates today. All right, Choke Quotum says, it was my Dono and Bubba. I appreciate that, Choke. Don't know why I didn't show up. I apologize for that. Says, what would your PD group and favorite to be under on and over on? You know how I am. I don't really have PD groups, but I mean, the top place differential place for me today would be Keselowski, Blaney, William Byron, Bubba Wallace, and then Daniel Suarez. These would be like the main PD guys for me, not counting the expensive ones, like that start in the teens. And favorite to be under on and over on of that PD group? I think the easiest one to be under on is probably Blaney. And I'm not saying I don't like Blaney, but he did lack some speed at the very least. Was the slowest of that bunch. Probably the easiest one. Then the over, I'd rather probably be on Bubba for tournaments or Brad Keselowski. Yeah, Leonard from Man Spread, appreciate that. Says appreciate you, and yes, I did box. Yeah, I gotta see the picks. I didn't see it unless I'm just not in on the joke. But hopefully you're having a good time at the casino, wherever it is. Blaze says Stenhouse took a wild ride in the sprint car last night. I did not see it. I do know Stenhouse does do some outside racing though, but I was not aware of anything like that. Scott says Reddick, Byron, Wallace, Suarez, Hocevar, and LaJoy in one lineup. All right, so we get Reddick as a Dom, Byron is the hybrid guy, but I mean, starting the very back, Wallace, Suarez, Hocevar, and LaJoy. Yeah, that can work. Now, you don't have Larson, you don't have anybody like in the very front. So, you have to hope that Reddick gets up there and can lead some laps fairly quickly. But if Larson does not dominate the entire race, which you're not going to have Larson 100% of lineups anyway, I think that's a fine build for it. Appreciate that, Steve. Thoughts on Berry last man in? I am not going my way to play Josh Berry today. Had some decent speed in practice, but he just did not end up projecting too well for me, so I am not a big fan of him. Tim says, who's your sixth projected finisher? As in finishing sixth? Interesting question. Let's see. Reddick. Be Byron. Even all the way back in the 30s, it's William Byron. So he says, yes, it's best position in race and can't use it driver again. I'm going to be honest, I forget what I answered to you. What was the question again? Oh, Kyle B or Bubba for one and done. And it is based off of position. Okay, yeah, then I would probably go with Bubba Wallace for that. I mean, not many other better tracks to use Wallace, I would say, than like a Kansas. It's probably a good week for him. Kyle Busch, I guess there could be some other tracks we'd get to him. How many laps are they running today? 267. As he says, also Cinco de Mayo, 5-car. That is true. I was thinking more so Daniel Suarez for the narrative, but I guess Cinco de Mayo for Mr. Kyle Larson works as well. So we got double narratives going. Hunter says the 310K build will be low on again like last week in a printed. The thing is, though, this is not last week. Dover has 400 laps. This has 267. I was a fan of the 310K build last week, but this weekend, there's just not as much dominator points to go around, so it's not going to look as good. Like, if we had 400 laps this week, yes, I would agree with you, but when you cut about half the laps out, there's just not as many points to go around. So it's not like an apples-to-apples comparison. Michael says, love you, man. Right back at you, Michael. Can you tell me why the Fords are so bad in NASCAR this year? Favorite Ford today? Thank you. Whatever it is, maybe it's the new nose. They're just not, they don't have the juice. I mean, at super speedways, they're pretty fast. It's never really been much of a question. But other than that, I mean, Ryan Blaney, Noah Gregson, they're kind of holding the Ford town over at Ford right now. They're just not Whatever it is, they just don't have it. I don't know why. But favorite four today for me is going to be Brad. Very easy to get to him. So I've done it from Trappy Gilmore. I like the name. Byron, Barry, Haley, Larson, Stenhouse, and Bubba for a single entry. Love Larson, love Byron. Like Stenhouse, like Bubba. I mean, the lineup fillers are, I mean, they are what they are. They're kind of gross, but it's whatever. So I'm not going to trash the lineup over it, but I do like the rest. I could rock with it. Bush's Kush says, last week I played Byron instead of Denny. Still almost got paid. I mean, I had plenty of Byron too, but Denny I had more Denny just because I liked him a little better. But yeah, I mean, as long as you hit some of the dominators, even if you did miss on one guy last week, they can make up for a lot of points. Like if you had Larson and Denny Hamlin together, I mean, you could trash a couple guys in your lineup and it just kind of made up for it. And Denny came in ownership last week. I mean, I feel like I'm usually really good with ownership, but I was way off on a lot of guys last weekend. I was just really perplexed at what I saw. Denny Hamlin ended up coming in a lot lower owned than I thought, and a couple other guys were just like, it was way different than what I expected. Ended up doing all right, but I mean, ownership confused me last week for sure. Odd one says Larson top Chevy, Reddick top Toyota. I mean, I would have Larson top Chevy and Hamlin top Toyota. I don't know. I mean, if you're asking me to bet it, I don't know what the odds are exactly where you're looking at, but I would assume I probably don't have value on them. Like I have Larson projected as the winner today, but my fair odds for that at 469, his odds are 240. So I am massive negative leverage on any Larson bet whatsoever today. I mean, I understand why the books love him. I factor in more variance than they do, I guess. But there's not a chance I could bet anybody in the Cup Series to win a race at plus 240. I don't care how good you are. And I'm not showing value on anybody based off the DraftKings odds. The closest one I am on is Reddick at 650. This might have changed since the last time I looked. Other than that, though, I mean, all these odds are terrible. And he says, EMAC 2024. Yeah, I did a couple shows with EMAC back in the Stochastic days, and he's a great guy. So it's always a fun time. Big Deal says, thanks for the content. No problem. Look for me up front in your contest until the end. Yeah, hopefully no stupid late cautions this week. Although whenever I feel like I need the late caution, I need some chaos, it doesn't happen. So we'll see what happens this weekend. Hopefully nothing too crazy if we're doing well. Kush says, I just like saying your name, it's fun. I remember last week on here I said no was a good value 9-1 for top 4 and it paid out. Yeah, I mean he caught that caution at the end and ended up working out very well. Him, Hemrick, and a couple other guys just ended up putting themselves in a really good spot staying out. Truex or Blaney, I'll take Truex there as long as the price doesn't matter, but I feel like it will. Can we expect carnage at this track? I mean, I'm not expecting super speedway type carnage. We can look at the DNFs over the past couple of races here, but I'm not expecting. We're not going to lose half the field or anything. So if we look at the most recent Kansas race in the fall, we had 3 guys DNF, and it was JJ Yaley, Harrison Burton, and then Truex, who lasted 3 laps. I remember that race, actually. I think we started the race on it was like a flat tire or something stupid. The next race, we lost 3 cars. 2022, we lost 5 cars, mostly scrubs. Then the next one, we lost 2, and it was Justin Haley and BJ. So I'm not expecting crazy today. There's always going to be a couple deaths. You never know who they're going to be, though. How many do you think the winner will have if it's Larson? When you mean like 10 KA drivers? I mean, if Larson dominates the majority of the race, it's probably just one other guy in the 10K range. No problem, Ryan. Any idea on the F1 slate today on DraftKings? Who would your captain be, please? Unfortunately, I do not know anything about F1. I usually just call it European Mario Kart or rich kids go karting, but I don't really like F1. It's boring to me. So no, I have no idea. I know I think it starts at the same time today. It's in Miami, but no, I don't know anything about F1, unfortunately. The only thing I know is Max. I know the drivers, but I couldn't tell you anything about the slate. Michael says getting a ton of Gilly, Haley, and check. Who's check? Oh, Nemechek. I'm okay with it. Like, for me, they pop up around 10 to 15% of the time, all of them. So I wouldn't really have a ton of them. I don't know what you mean by a lot. What's up, Sarah? I see Daniel Suarez in the chat. Hopefully you have a good race today, sir. Where do you project Herbst finishing today? I had him second to last. In front of Kraus, though. Kraus just looks really rough. Today is Bowman's day. Feels it. Talking winning, I don't really see him winning today. Although, last week it's over. For, I think it was just like stage 2 or whatever. Maybe early part of stage 3. He was cooking. I thought he was going to win the race for a little bit. Did not happen, ended up fading back a little bit. But man, he was really good for a certain period last weekend. Sarah says, hello, Chris from Mississippi. Hello, Sarah from Florida. Liker says, I have the stochastic sims. How hard is it to upload your projections instead of theirs? I'm new to this. Might be kind of hard to explain, but once you run the contest generator, there's usually a thing where it says you can upload custom projections, and then you just have to like match the drivers with the projection. Let me see. So yeah, once you simulate the lineups in the pre-contest simulator, you have to generate the lineups first. Then you do that. Then it says upload custom projections. Then you download the template, and then you just kind of have to match it up a little bit. They do have the IDs, so you can look up you can do a VLOOKUP. I'm gonna do an Excel lesson here, but it's gonna be boring. But once you match them up, you just save that and then upload it in the same format. Probably not explaining it that well, but like I said, I don't want to do an Excel lesson on here. But it's really easy if you know how to do a VLOOKUP function, because then you can match it up a little better. Because you can't really copy and paste it because they use driver IDs, which are different than just the names. Bobby Raposa says, looking for final spot. Elliott or Gibbs, leaning towards Gibbs finishing better. Yeah, if I had to pick between the two, it's DraftKings. I have Ty Gibbs just a couple points higher. Quick Shade says, started raining here in KC out of nowhere. Yeah, I looked at the forecast yesterday. Looked fine to me, but it's not looking too great right now. I actually got to pull Bob's Twitter. I haven't done that yet. See if he said anything about anything. Just posted 33 seconds ago. Says Cup green weather permitting. For those who care, stages 80, 85, 102 laps, 9 sets of tires, fuel windows around 63 to 67 laps. No cars to the rear, and says possible delay because of rain, but optimistic race we'll get in today. So it sounds like we could be having a late start here. Looking at the radar, I'm no weatherman, but there's a giant blob of rain moving directly towards the track. So it looks like it's going to rain. So I don't know. We'll see when we start. But we do have lights at Kansas, so we should be good to go no matter what. Should end up clearing out. Big says drivers will finish top 5 today. Who leads a lot? I think I answered that one. TK says LaJoy or Hemrick and Cash. I'd go with LaJoy there. Steven says, do you think Bowman will have any speed? Practice was short and slow. Yeah, the one thing with Bowman, where I'm not going to put too much into practice, is if we just did not get too many laps out of him. Like 21st on the 1, then 32nd on the 5, but that was it. And I don't really think that Bowman's slower than Austin Hill today. So I think Bowman probably settle around 12th to 15th. Probably a fair range for Bowman, 12th to 16th. As far as Bob said, there's no drivers going to the rear. Plus, if anybody ended up going to the rear and their name's not Kyle Larson, I guess I really wouldn't care too much. Wallace or Gibbs better finish? I have Gibbs with the better finish, but for DFS purposes, I like Bubba better. Is it agreed that Dillon should lose his ride? Absolutely. Not a big Austin Dillon fan. Not a big fan. Him, Austin Cindric, I wouldn't mind. Honestly, I'd like to see like Hocevar in the 48 car. That'd be fun one day. One spot, Wallace or Elliott, also an Elliott fan, so torn. Personally, I like Bubba a little bit more. I feel like their finishing position upside is very slimmer at the end of the day, and then I can get Bubba starting many spots further back. 6,200, last man in. Just missed the cutoff on a couple guys I like, but for me, Austin Hill. Cheapest driver on DraftKings? Cheapest playable driver on DraftKings to me would probably be Justin Haley. Starts at 4 p.m. I guess 4 p.m. local time would certainly be possible. It looked like, according to Google, rain in the area till around 4 to 5 p.m. Eastern. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. I don't know how long it's going to take to drive the track. But at least we get some more time, I guess, to chill in the afternoon. DraftKings, as long as we get a notice that it will be delayed, they should push lock back. FanDuel usually just locks. So just keep that in mind, depending on what site you're playing on or if you're playing on both. What's up, Sniper? Says running at the track. That is highly unfortunate. Any thoughts on LaJoy and Priest versus Hocevar and Hill on DraftKings? I would side on the Hocevar and Hill side, but honestly, we're just splitting hairs on guys that are projected around 18 to 20 points. Hocevar definitely looks the best of that bunch, though. Pugsley's final build was Larson, Byron, Bubba, Keselowski, LaJoy, and Haley for tournaments. The pump plays feel gross. They definitely do feel. You hit your DOMs, though. Hopefully, it's not going to matter too much. Justin Sports says they're a chalk build. Sorry, late today. No problem. It was very late today anyway. I think there's 3 guys everyone's going to play. Maybe 4 in cash games. Should be Larson, Byron. And then after that, Keselowski, Ryan Blaney will probably be extremely popular. Go for cash. No problem at all, Tim. I don't mind answering any question you got. So I'm glad you've been doing well. Hamlin and Haley or Blaney and Kess for cash. I would go with Blaney and Keselowski. Bubba, Keselowski, LaJoy, Hemrick. My last 4 in single entry. Thoughts? I am not seeing the Hemrick love today. Starts in 33rd. Practice around it. I just don't really see any upside. I mean, you're looking at recent races, sure, but complete luck box. I can't do it. Hocevar, Blaney, Larson, Truex, Bum, and LaJoy. Thoughts? I think that's a solid build, Joe. It's solid. Effie says, with the rain, we can watch the F1 race and then have a NASCAR nightcap. Yeah, if you want to watch a Max Verstappen parade, I'm sure. It is in Miami, though, so I guess that's kind of cool. I saw that they charge like $290 for like nachos or something. Ridiculous. America Hill on DraftKings, I would go with Austin Hill. Your Chaos says, I'm going to count Byron safely crashing out and him being chalked. Could happen. Could not. No way of knowing, unfortunately. Priest or Hocevar, I'll go with Hocevar. Heim is, I just don't like the starting spot too much. Probably finishes 20th, 25th, which is okay, but I haven't run 18 points. Hill or LaJoy, last spot for DK Cash. I have Hill. I have Hill 0.9 points. Or no, I'm sorry, 0.09 points higher than for LaJoy. It's extremely close. Extremely close. What's up, David? Bush, Haley, Keselowski, Larson, Reddick, Stenhouse. What you think? I think it's a good build. Larson, Reddick. Bush is a little iffy. I'm not like hugest on Bush today, but it keeps you different than I like the rest. Haley, Keselowski, and Stenhouse. So I'm not gonna hate on it. Abyssus says Medina. The city? I'm from close to Medina, if that's even in Ohio, but I'm not sure if you're just misspelling a driver's name or something. Suarez top 10. My fair odds for Suarez top 10 are probably not going to be what the books say. It's 643. No problem at all, Joel. Thanks for your help, man. Went ahead and made a lineup with both. Be safe. It's probably the best way to go. Charles says extra $400 if you want an ounce of caviar. That is awful. I wouldn't eat caviar if it was free, so I'm not paying $400. $400 bread and cheese? Man. It's basically just a celebrity influencer show for the most part. I'm sure none of them really care about the race. Yeah, I'll see you in Discord, Rick. I gotta start building. I got 45 minutes to do that. Quick Shay says Jones scored 61 DraftKings points in the fall race here. I'm in this car today. I'm a beast at these tracks in the truck series. Sneaky play. Yeah, I mean, Eric Jones obviously has much more experience in Cup cars in the next gen era, obviously. So, I mean, I really don't think it's a direct comparison, but I do have Corey Heim projected okay. Not trash. 17th in the 15 lap, 24th in the 10. I think he can hang around 20th, somewhere close to it. You're good. I bet not, Charles. I bet not. I can't get to McDowell today. The starting spot's way too high for me. And I'm not that high on Bell. I just don't think he's gonna stay up front the entire race. And with his starting position, there's just so much downside. Everybody priced around him looks so much better. Truex, Byron Reddick, Larson, Hamlin, even below him, of Wallace. Just think he should have better cars. I think Bell could lead 25, 30 laps, but plus if we get a competition caution, that hurts him too. I mean, just another chance to stack him up. Jim says, concern, would you fade Bell today? Or not? If I had the choice to, I'm fading Bell. I am not playing Bell on FanDuel today. I don't see any reason to. You're not getting the Dominator points, and he's basically got to win the race. So I think it's an unlikely scenario that all that happens. And then on DraftKings, I just think Kyle Larson probably gets there at some point. There's other guys who move through the field, probably end up outscoring him once he fades back, gets in dirty air. And he has shown that he's not as strong as the other guys throughout the entire season. I mean, short flat tracks are a little bit different. All right, I think I answered everything. Not a big fan of McDowell. Just the starting position's too high for me. Starting in 8th. Practice all right, but I just think there's more upside with these other guys below him, like Stenhouse, Carson Hocevar. But I got to start building, so I'm going to have to get out of here. Yeah, Bell does like the wall, that's for sure. I appreciate y'all being here. We had a fun stream. Quite a bit of you, so wish you all the best of luck. If you're on DraftKings, you'll probably get a delay, assuming the race does get pushed back. On FanDuel, plan for it locking around 3 o'clock. I'll see y'all next week. I don't know where we're at all. Oh, yeah, I don't know where we're at. Darlington's coming up, though. Maybe it's Darlington. All right.